And we're live again, it looks like. So, hey everybody, thanks for checking out another weekly stream, my Saturday at 9 p.m. Pacific time. This is week 23, so I did 23 of these episodes now, roughly 2 to 3 hours each, so they're kind of adding up. I'm starting to make some progress, get some steam, that kind of thing. Recently updated my streaming software, so if I disappear during the stream, I will be back momentarily, but I have experienced a crash already, so hopefully there aren't any more of those. Thanks for tuning in. I was also going to post to a couple other places. I'll just press a button there just so other people know I'm floating around. So what are we doing on these streams? We're making an operating system in the browser, so to speak, OS in quotes, desktop environment, that kind of thing. I notice in some crowds, if you say you're making an OS in the browser, they're right away going to jump on you. You're not managing memory. You're not doing this. You're not messing with the hardware to a certain extent. And of course, that's true. So I'm not gonna outright claim I'm making an OS, but there's definitely OS-y type things that I can make here. A lot of them are surface level, but I'm okay with that for now, and I'm having a good time doing it. So come along on the ride with me. If you like what I'm doing, sounds interesting, that kind of thing, check out my videos, please. If you like them, throw me a like. And if you really like them or you want to support me even more, subscribe to my channel, because keeps me going, keeps me motivated, and keeps you guys apprised of what's coming next. And I do have future plans for this channel. I think after I finally finish this project, which I got a little over 5.5 months left on, I guess, before we release this thing, and we have a release party video, which will be fun. But I'm hoping after that, and maybe even before that, to start posting some other videos just about programming, that kind of thing, my opinion on different tech, that kind of whatever people want to talk about. Travel, I did a lot of travel, so that could be another thing. Parenthood, I don't know anything about that, so I probably won't do any videos on that. I do have kids, but it doesn't mean I know anything. So update number 2, we got our post-it notes here of what we need to do over there. If you guys remember, I think last time there were 10. Now it looks like there's about 14 on the finished side over here. So I only did about 4 this week leading up to this stream. 2 of them are the yellow ones, so those are a little more important. I've got some of the start menu fleshed out as far as the files themselves. Oh, I forgot to mention here, powered by Red Bull again. As almost every stream, Red Bull Blue this time, probably the best one flavor wise. I think that's why the light is blue today too, so we're doing blue today. Yeah, so I moved 4 over there. I think I probably added 10 over there, unfortunately. And the board part of the post-it, so those are the ones I consider critical, and the floating around is kind of just ideas that I have that maybe I'll do someday, or I do some of them, So again, thanks for tuning in. Before I get to the code, I'm not sure how long this video will be, this one. So I did want to mention a few things that I worked on throughout the week that weren't on either of these boards. Actually, I think some of them are on this side now in like the floating area. If they aren't, I'm going to put them on there. But I wanted to mention a few ideas I have, and I've done some POCs, some proof of concept type things. I don't really have them in front of me right now, so I won't show you, but I'll just explain them. So one of them, if you guys know with Windows 10, when you hover over the taskbar, a taskbar entry, depending on if you have like peek or whatever it's called enabled, it'll actually show a little preview of what's going on in the window. And it even animates too. Like if you're watching a video, you could see the video also in the bottom there. And I found this thing called HTML to Canvas that actually can pretty much do that. So what we can have here, this is the app as it is right now. Let's say I've got Doom right here running. So I can actually make a photo of this on like a frame per second type thing and have a little mini version. So let's say if you hover over the taskbar entry here, it'll pop up a little preview. And I think the idea of this, let's say that you have a bunch of windows over top of each other, you can kind of get a peek. I think it's called peek, so that makes sense. I think you can get a peek of what's going on in the window. And I think that's something we could do. So that could be a fun one. It wasn't super performant, but there was a lot of things I think I could have adjusted. And it's really only ever going to be on one taskbar entry at a time, because it's based on hover and your mouse can only be in one place at a time. So at most, it's only one of these going on. And I think Doom is as good a use case as any for a difficult one. And it was actually looking pretty decent. And I actually was doing a lot of it wrong, to be honest. So I haven't even tuned it yet. as far as some of the things that this HTML canvas can do when I started looking at the docs. And this is kind of how I figure out these things. Like just in Windows, I was hovering over and I saw the peak and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I was thinking, well, how would you do that? Well, it's just a picture of the window, I guess, essentially, or a video. I mean, what's a video? It's just a bunch of pictures. So if I can find some way to turn the DOM elements, the HTML part, into like a canvas picture type element, then I can display that canvas somewhere else. Because these canvases are a way of displaying things in HTML. Like this Doom window is actually running in a canvas and has code running in WebAssembly doing DOS emulation to run this Doom game. So yeah, it's actually quite simple to run the code though. Like you just say HTML to canvas, the element you want to capture, and then here's a canvas of what a picture of it basically. And if you can do, I'd be happy with like 10, 15 frames per second. It looked rather fluid on Windows, but we'll see. It might be something where I can be more performant depending on the specs. So it's another cool feature to have anyways. What was another one I had that I wanted to talk about? Subcontext menus, right? I don't have the demo right now, but you click here and like in Windows, there's send to, and then if you hover over that, it'll open up another menu. I found a way to essentially recursively create this component again so that it can make a sub menu, which is basically just another version of itself. And I'm making some progress there. I'm just having some difficulties with getting all the hovering effects right. Because it's like, you're hovering this, but if you click off of this, then it blurs and closes the menu. So then if you're on the other one, another reason why I wanted to be able to focus is so that you can do tab up and down. Because like if I right click, you see now, oh, it actually isn't working. Oh, the JS DOS is capturing it. Let me close JS DOS and try this. So I right click here. I thought I'd be able to go up and down this menu. Maybe that's because well, I don't know why that doesn't occur actually. I've got it partially working at least. Like when I right click, it does focus on this, which is what I wanted. Because in Windows, when you right click, you can right away go up and down and go into the menu. I was hoping focusing would be enough, but I see it's not, so I'll have to do some more adjusting there. But as far as keyboards, navigation, and accessibility, it's not super high on my list at the moment, just because it's like the devil in details kind of thing. And then what was another one? One other one was this start menu effect. We're going to have the start menu entries today. And when you hover over them and certain other things, you can see here is a video of someone doing it. This is just one I was researching. I'd like to do it myself, but I'm kind of using some of their stuff, obviously, as inspiration. Why not? So the idea of it here, if you can see here, I'm hovering over one, and it's kind of got that's very similar to the Windows Spotlight. I don't know what they call this effect exactly. They have a name for it. So I'm hoping to be able to emulate that in the future on the start menu entries and anywhere else where Microsoft is doing that or Windows is doing that. Just to, again, get another little piece of the puzzle. I think it's pretty easy. For the most part, I just like the LI entries, or the start menu entries. You just say when mouse enters, like events start occurring every time the mouse moves, and you can do another thing when the mouse leaves. So when the mouse leaves, the effect goes, but when it enters, you get the position of where the mouse is, and then you set a gradient in the background, and you can specify in the gradient, like, I want the gradient to be in this exact spot going out in this way. And then you also set another gradient on the border effect, which can also have a gradient. So you kind of just set up two gradients based on information you already have from where the mouse is. So I'm hoping it's simple enough, and that's kind of what this guy explained here, I think. I mean, he's got a lot of other stuff that I haven't really read yet. I just saw this piece here and I was like, okay, I'm going to just jump in right there. So I haven't even read past seeing the fact that he's like, oh, mouse leave, mouse move. Okay, let's take a look. And I've just kind of jumped in at this point. Radial gradient, you see here, and you can do X, Y. So I'm just looking at this now, but this is how I find stuff sometimes. Like, I guess you could call this a tutorial, I suppose. So in that way, I do tutorials, I guess. But I was just like I'm just always looking at stuff on dev.to, and especially for Windows 10 stuff. And it's not like I'm just copying this verbatim. It's like, oh, I need these, I need that. No, I'm just looking at it and figuring out, it's like, what is he doing here? What's he achieving? Why is this necessary? Okay, was there a code pen? I can actually see the code in action then, like here. And then I could play with the CSS and play with the JavaScript. So that's my methodology for the tutorial. It's not to do any of this blindly. It's just like to understand how a way that it could have been done. Like I'm already not using mouse move, I think, or perhaps I am. I can't recall exactly. I think I might be using mouse move. I mean, he's got a great explanation, so it's definitely a good idea to start off of. But obviously, I'm not going to do every little piece exactly like he did. I mean, I have styled components. He's talking about CSS here, so I might be able to do it with less code, perhaps, you know, because of the beauty of styled components. So those are some of the things I'm hoping to do in the near future. I've got a basic little idea for all of them, so we're not going to do them today, though, those ones. I just wanted to discuss them with you, and then probably next week or the week after, we'll just kind of jump right into it, and I'll be like, here's the code, and then we'll just go through the code. Feel free to throw a message in the chat or comment after the fact. Always welcome, always appreciated. Other than that, I think we're ready to go into the code here. And I've done quite a bit this week. Actually, that's debatable, I suppose. It doesn't look like a lot here. I actually haven't completely finished this list. I started looking at my changes that I have. That's how I do it, by the way, is I throughout the week do the changes, and then I kind of review them here and go over them and add them to the code, and sometimes refactor them on the fly. And just kind of just so that we have something that reasonably isn't going to fall apart during the video, hopefully. Sometimes it does, but we'll see how this one goes. So yeah, if we look at here, files changed. I've changed some stuff. What's the numbers here? I mean, this is wrong. I must have changed some libraries or something because I didn't write 6,000 new files, so this number is not useful, but you can see there that's more realistic. There's some files that are not even shown because they changed so much, like this lock file here. And that's actually the first thing we're going to discuss here. Oops, let's switch back to that. So we're going to go into the code, and the first thing I want to tell you guys is we are moving to Yarn. Dun, dun, dun. So for those of you guys that don't know, I should probably discuss it a little bit. There's the NPM package manager that comes with Node. When you install Node.js, you get this NPM package manager. I'm pretty sure it comes with it. And none of this stuff on this website matters for what I was trying to show you guys. But like when you download Node.js, let's say, you know, you get Node.js from here. It comes with NPM, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But NPM stands for the Node Package Manager. Oh wait, it stands for Noodles, Poodles, and More, actually, sorry. Or does it stand for Naughty Push Message? You can add to this, by the way. My friends added to this before. You can make a GitHub pull request to add to this massive list of silly acronyms for this, or if that's what you call it. Yeah. But I believe it's called Node Package Manager. Anyways, there's another one that also is interesting. And the reason why I want to switch to is I've been having problems with it. Let's try right now. You know, here's its one chance to redeem itself because I've been having trouble doing the most simple things. I wanted to do an update. As it is, I'm on NPM 6 instead of 7 because NPM update no longer changes the package.json file, which I like. So that's my first problem. And maybe that's also why NPM's not working the way I want. But let's just try it again here. Let's go NPM outdated and let's see what it is. But I've been having trouble updating for like 2 weeks with NPM, and I've given up and I've moved to Yarn already. So yeah, I'm on TypeScript 4.2 and I want to be on 4.3 amongst other problems here that it has. But let's try it. So NPM update. I'm giving you a chance right here, buddy. So because I'm on NPM 6, it will update package.json still and write those changes. But either because it's outdated or because some kind of dependency stuff has gone a wonk, it's probably not going to work. And also it's a lot slower too. Yarn has become a lot faster. And just while we're waiting for this slow process to fail or succeed or whatever the heck happens, we'll just quickly go to Yarn here. Oh, it already failed, by the way. As soon as I go away. Okay, so yeah, it failed. It's talking about some TypeScript build script thing. It might be related to some other package that I have that's busted for some other dependency, but one way or the other, I'm tired of it because I was tired of this, I was like, hey, let's try Yarn. And you know what? Yarn worked. So I'm going to try to remember what steps I did. I think what I decided, at first I tried Yarn upgrade so that I could convert my package lock file here to a Yarn lock file because I had some interest in keeping the dependencies. But since then, I've kind of figured out how to fix most of the things that I was holding back on. Like, I think it was holding back on TypeScript. I had an issue. What was another one? This one here, ESLint plugin import, I was also holding back on. I'm going to not do that, and I'm just going to say everything here can be completely updated. So I'm going to put a little up arrow there. I'm actually going to do that for Prettier too. Prettier recommends not doing this, but I don't really know why, you know? I think it's like just because you're worried about breaking things, but I'm living dangerously. Same with Jest 27 also had broke some stuff, but I think that has also been resolved. Or if it hasn't been resolved, I figured out a way to fix that as well. But let's, again, try these updates, but let's move to Yarn. So first thing I'm going to do is delete the package.lock file, because that's an NPM thing. That just keeps the packages that you install at a certain version and kind of controls dependencies and stuff. Another cool thing that Yarn has, I've had some trouble getting it to work on projects that have like workspaces and stuff. But one cool thing that Yarn has, if you guys don't know, is this thing called resolutions. Exactly. And it allows you to, if you have dependency issues, you can actually just add a little piece here called resolutions and say, for this dependency, I want you to use a different version, you know, that kind of thing. So in theory, it's quite handy. I've had trouble with it. But as far as what Yarn is anyways, it's just a different package manager. And the package managers are, if you're familiar with Node.js, there's like these packages, which is just like bundles of JavaScript that do certain things that you can kind of interoperably use, and like Lego pieces kind of. And as far as how they handle dependencies, these different little bundles of JS also depend on each other kind of. And the different package managers have different ways of kind of resolving dependency conflicts and just installing things in different ways. And it seems to me like I've had better luck with Yarn lately, so I'm just going to give it a shot again. And we're going to go, so I've deleted the lock file, and I'm just going to go yarn install. And I've changed, the reason I changed these to up arrows is to say, don't be locked on 228.2.1. Just go all as much as you can. Although actually, is that a bad idea? I don't think so. There's an issue where like if you do install, then in the node modules folder, it installs something newer, but it doesn't update your package file. And then when you do a yarn upgrade, it maybe doesn't update again because it already has a newer version in node modules. Let's take a peek. Let's try it out here. So first we got to do yarn install because we have no lock file. So we can't just go right to upgrade. So I'll do yarn install, and that's going to install all my dependencies. Same way that npm install did. A few things are different with yarn. Like instead of npm install for a file, it's yarn add. So the install is focused on installing the packages, versus add is to add a package. And in npm, those are kind of the same command of install. See, that was fast to me. I mean, I didn't update there, but so what's changed? So we got a lock file now. And yeah, these changes were just my manual changes. So now that we got this lock file, now let's try the yarn upgrade. And a flag that I know how to do is this latest. And I believe that one is supposed to update the package JSON file. And if it doesn't, I will be very disappointed. Actually, specifically if it doesn't, a few of these, like this ESLint, and well, we'll see. This is where I'm worried it's kind of already downloaded newer stuff and it's going to say nothing needs to change. Okay, no, it actually, oh yeah, there's some stuff though. This ESLint plugin import is wrong. Just, it got, yeah, very few things here it updated even though it should have. See TypeScript as well. So this is the annoying thing. Okay, so yeah, actually, let's undo all these changes. And instead, let us do the yarn upgrade. So if we do yarn upgrade, we take the the lock file that's associated with this. Oh wait, what did I just do? Not yarn upgrade, sorry, yarn, what is it called again? Migrate? No, import, I think. Yeah, there we go. So this, we'll get the lock file that currently is the package lock file from npm, and it matches all this stuff. So then when we do an upgrade, it should be proper, I'm hoping. Okay, so now we got that. So now the yarn install should have had the right packages. Let me modify this again to once again say I want to go above the version there. I'm happy to go above here. I think those are the only two cases where I wasn't using the up arrow thing. I'd even be fine to go with breaking, you know, because I'm living dangerously. But let's just do this. Okay. So now if I do yarn upgrade latest, hopefully a lot of stuff will change. Oh, it's already saying I have to do yarn install. Okay, well hopefully it'll respect my existing lock file this time and not upgrade the packages. Then when I do upgrade, it'll be reasonable. Oh, maybe I should have not done this yet until I was ready then. Let's see. It's always tricky to figure out what the order is you're supposed to do these things in. Okay, now let's try this once again. So my hope is that it'll update a lot more in the package file this time because the node modules folder would have been outdated, more outdated, because it would have respected the lock file, which I imported. That's my logic there as to whatever the heck it is I just did. Let's see if more changes this time. TypeScript, perhaps. Okay, yeah, here we go. And it failed in the way that I expected because it still didn't work. So it worked in a lot of ways, and then it changed way more this time. But it didn't change this the way I wanted it to. And I know why. So let's undo this one more time and try for a third time just to get this right and to understand it. I'm fine to like, some people will be like, oh, you know, close enough, push it, or I think it worked. I don't know why it worked. No. We're going to go back and figure out exactly why it worked, you know? If we don't understand it, then we shouldn't be committing it, I would say most of the time. And unfortunately, sometimes I do commit it anyways, but we got time. So the order of things that I should have done is first I should have done the import to get the lock file, and then I do install right away before I change the JSON file. And I think that will allow me to update the things that I missed before. So now I do the yarn install, and there we go. That was quick. Whoa, why was that so quick? Okay, let me delete. Now I'll delete the other lock file. Let me run install again and see if it's, yeah, that was a very happy run there. And now I'm going to do what I said, which was once again push the up arrow here. So up arrow there and up arrow here. So now I'm expecting all those lines that changed the second time, didn't change the first time. I want them to change again, but I also want this line to change. Now when I do an upgrade, I want this and possibly this, but probably not. This is probably already the latest, but this one should go to like 223 something this time. And all the other ones like TypeScript and stuff. So yarn upgrade dash latest. This is the one that should work. Oh, what's it saying? Wait, what? Outdated lock file, please run yarn install. You know, I literally just ran yarn install, but hey, let's do it again. Oh, is it saying it's outdated because of this piece here? Oh, does that mean that's not going to work once again? That would be annoying. Oh, you know what? I think I did it wrong once again. Okay, one last time for good luck. We're going to figure this out. Yarn import, and while it's doing that, I'm going to craft my next command. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to modify the file directly. That's my mistake. That was one of my mistakes. I make so many. So we did the upgrade. As soon as we do the upgrade, then we delete the old one. Then we do the install to make sure the log file is up to date. Then what we do is we do an add command where we say we want the latest version now. And that should add the up arrow and possibly upgrade this exact one. There we go. Now we got 223 of that one. Same with prettier. We'll just say we want to add prettier as the latest, and that'll give it the up arrow. The number might not change. We'll see. Oh, the number even changed too. Nice. Okay. And now we do the yarn upgrade latest, and we get all the other stuff. And this is the wonky way that you have to do it, I think. Now we should have all our dependencies properly up to date, and we moved over to yarn. And we didn't get any errors about installing any packages. I just didn't get the versions I wanted sometimes. And it was a lot faster too. And we're on the newest version of yarn versus an older version of NPM. And yarn, the newest version of yarn has native changing of package file, which is exactly what I wanted. See, there we go. Yeah, now everything's updated. Look at all this stuff that updated. Lots of great updates. So now that we have those updates, let's make sure I haven't broken things, because I think a few things will be broken. And now one thing I'm going to have to remember, I'm probably going to forget it a few times, is running the yarn command here instead of npm for my run command. So I can do yarn run dev, let's say, and it'll run the dev environment. I'm probably going to do npm sometimes. And I've also decided in my package file, I have one command here that uses npm, this one here. I'm going to keep this as npm, because if someone else clones my repo and runs this command, they'll have npm, because npm came with Node.js, which is required. But they might not have yarn. So I'm not going to put yarn in here because not everybody has it. It's not a requirement for my app. But I'm only going to have a yarn lock file going forward. So if you are on NPM, you're going to have to do the reverse of whatever the yarn import is if you don't want to go to yarn. But perhaps NPM can respect the yarn lock file. I have no idea. That's unfortunately going to have to be on you if you don't want to move to yarn, because I've decided to. I'm just tired of NPM at the moment. We'll see though. I'm new to yarn, so maybe I'll hate it too. I know I'm picky. Let's test this out now. Yarn run ESLint. So ESLint's the first thing that's going to be busted, I think. And when I say busted, it's not really busted. It's just that it's not right. So they've changed a bunch of rules. But if we look here, I think pretty much every rule that I'm breaking right now is this import extension rule. And it's actually just because it's not defaulted to know about TypeScript. So I'm not really breaking a rule even. But we need to add this little custom thing, which I've already got. Which is, so for the import extensions rule, we do want to error, but we want to also ignore some packages. Wait, what does that mean? Let's read this rule because once again, I've forgotten what I did here. Basically, we've picked certain new extensions here, but I want to see what the syntax is for those things that I did here. So, what is ignore packages supposed to represent? Can be set as a separate Boolean option like this. Why would you do that? Okay. Well, I'm just gonna make up how I think it is and just tell you guys that. So I still want to have errors if something's wrong with this. I'm not disabling the rule, but I'm saying for TS files and TSX files, it's totally fine to not have an extension. So leave me alone with that. And at the same time, while I'm here, I also wanted to update this one thing. I've noticed I use strings for everything else, and I know that level 1 is warn. So I'm just going to update this to warn, just to be consistent with the fact that I'm using strings everywhere else. Like off, error. Error, I could have put 2 or something, or I think 3, whatever the heck it is. Okay, let's run ESLint again, and hopefully we won't have any errors. Because I didn't have a problem with my importing of extensions. There we go, so that part's done. Let's try stylelint and make sure we haven't added any bugs there by upgrading whatever the heck it is we upgraded. Looks like no. I think jest might be broken too. So yarn run test. I think jest 27 might have broke something. Be nice if it didn't. Okay, it did. I think it tells you what to do though. Yeah, so it says consider using the JS DOM test environment. I think I was before, and maybe it's changed in 27 so that I'm not, or it's not set as a default. So we're just going to look at what I wrote in the code here. So that part I just did. Actually, should I commit these things separate? No, I'll do them all at once because they're all related to the package update. This part too. Where is this jest DOM? Jest DOM. Ah, there it is. So right, in the jest config here, which is somewhere here, jest config, basically just at the end here, alphabetically speaking, I say test environment JS DOM. And that was all I had to do for that. So, hey, if I got to be explicit with that or whatever, whatever works. There we go. Now it passes. So what other commands did I have that I should run? Run ESLint, stylelint. We could run prettier to see if, I think prettier changed, but I think that was last week where prettier really changed their rules a bunch. Maybe something changed there. I don't know. I don't think it changed anything. We did the test. We could do a build and an export just to make sure the next.js updates didn't break anything. We'll do a build to see that it's still building good and see how big it is, the bundle. I think it's a pretty reasonable size right now. I mean, there is some bundle splitting going on or whatever you call it. I can't remember the term at the moment. But it's a little slow to build. Although at the same time, I wish the next image component allowed you to build locally. So you see it's like about 200 kilobytes first load. It's been pretty good in page tests, and I'm gonna really try to make the server optimal when I get there. And export should work too. So there we go. So every function works. Nice. So yeah, we moved over to Yarn. Another piece to moving over to Yarn is on the GitHub side. I have a build pipeline that runs every time I commit my stuff and send it off to GitHub. I'm gonna switch these to Yarn commands because GitHub supports Yarn in the pipeline, and it's just more consistent with my expected build environment now. So now I know yarn install works, whereas npm install was actually not working recently and was causing the pipeline to fail. So this is another thing that got fixed. So we're just going to do yarn in these cases now, and yarn test is fixed now, and that should all be working. Let's just go back. Did I have any other yarn things? So I just did this. I just did those. Yeah, I got a lock file now. That was it then. Oops. I need help. Oops. No, I don't need help. But I pressed F1, which is considered help. Okay, cool. So I'm going to call that our package updates. and at the same time we fix this ESLint error and fix jest error. Just updating my notes here. Let's double check the code. So yeah, in ESLint, we just added that thing to say, hey, for TS and TSS extensions, I'm not going to type them in the top. Not necessary. Actually, it's a stupid rule in general. I don't like that it's telling me to do extensions. It's like, why? And then, yeah, I switched that to a warn. Maybe we can make these separate updates just to keep them isolated. Let's do that. So this one here is fixed ESLint import issue. Although it wasn't an issue until I updated the package, so that's a tricky one. But let's not think about that. Fixed ESLint import issue. And then for jest, I fixed jest test issue. And what was main? Oh yeah, these are, well, is that related? Let's say it's not. Converted pipeline to use yarn. And this is the build updates that always happen when you run build. I'm just going to undo those changes actually, because they're not important. Every time I run build, that changes. Sometimes I commit it, sometimes I don't. And then the big one here where we changed a bunch of stuff. We upgraded a bunch of things here. Some of them are nearly breaking changes they had. But we fixed all the changes that were breaking. So yeah, we're updated to Jest 27 now, TypeScript 4.3, which comes with some cool stuff that we'll probably not talk about today. Talk about it when I use it. It's only cool if you need it. All right, so updated packages and moved to Yarn. Nice. There we go. That was a nice little big one. So that was the first 3 there. I got a message here from Abin Baby. I'll read it out here. Isn't it a teamwork kind of thing? Sorry for reading your message a little late, by the way, so I'm kind of out of sync with what we were talking about. You said it at 9:27, which is 4 minutes ago. I'll read your next one too. Can you please share your programming journey, like how you started and what all things you have done to upskill yourself? I definitely will in the future, totally. I do have a video where I kind of got into it a bit. From on my YouTube here. Let me find the YouTube for myself. I don't know how easy it is to find me. Probably not super easy. Oh, nice. Not so hard. I had a video. What's this one here? How I became a software engineer. If you guys want to check that one out, that one was kind of a fun one to do where I talk for, I guess, 13 minutes and kind of go over some of that stuff. Just as a high level thing though, yeah, I am self-taught. I never went to university for it, but I've just always really loved computers and playing around with them for a long time. So it's one of those kind of stories, you know, with me. Just really into it, I suppose. And yeah, I can answer more specifics. I don't want to. It's a big question, you know, and I'm actually working on some more videos to kind of get into it. And as far as upskilling, that's a tough one, you know. I've never considered it upskilling, I guess. I'm just always learning, you know, and it's not like, oh, I need this skill, I need to know React now or something. It's not really like that. I'm excited to know what it can do for me and what I can build with it, you know, like a Lego kind of thing. I always go back to Lego because there is a bit of a feeling of Lego once you get into programming and you kind of can use it and you can get in the flow with it and stuff, then it can be like just like putting parts together, you know. And I think this project's a really good example of putting parts together, and that's why I want to keep going and really I want to get the details right, because people could see it and it could look sloppy and they could go, oh yeah, you can try to slap it together, but it's not the same as doing X, Y, Z. And I want to show it's like, well, you know, it could be very close to the same, you know, or it could be pretty good. Thank you so much. I'll for sure check it out, said Abin. Yeah, cool. I appreciate that you want to check it out. Yeah. Feel free to leave a comment too, and any other questions you have on that video or on this one. And I will follow up and get into more details. And yeah, I'm always up for answering questions. So the next thing on my list was goodbye deep source. So deep source was just this little scanning tool that I was using sometimes with the code, but I've kind of gotten most of the use out of it. It found a few things, I think at one point. Automate code reviews was, yes, it's a static analysis. It was a little helper, you know, almost like I have ESLint, I'll have this too. But for the most part, it's just been getting in the way lately, and it's just a bunch of false positives that I have to ignore. So I'm going to delete the file that is necessary for it to work in the pipeline. I think I've already deleted it from GitHub, so it's not even connected to the pipeline anymore. But yeah, I'm just going to get rid of the file now. because I don't want it anymore. And I had to delete it from the pipeline earlier because it was just breaking everything on my repo. So not really, but I don't want to get that extreme about it, but I just didn't want it anymore, you know? So get rid of dep source, Johnny dep source. There we go, deep source. Get rid of deep source. Is gone. So I started going through what my changes were last week through this last week coming up to this day. And these were like some of the refactors I found, which were very minor. And then some of these were more like additional apps and system features. I think there's more here. I did some bug fixes and stuff, so we're going to explore through the code. And at some point I might jump to these, but then I might find another bug that I fixed somewhere while we're looking through my changes, and then I'll add another one. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to get the dev environment running again, just so I can refresh the page above me here and make sure it's still working. Drum roll, very slow drum roll as it reloads in a disturbingly slow way. Why'd I get an error? What's broken now? Oh, it's just building the error page? Okay, cool. Just building the error page, no error. There we go, so that's working. Put that there, close it, open it. There it is again. Nice. Winamp is, for the most part, working. Still has a few things that needs to be done, but it's coming along. Start menu, it's an empty box, but it's going to have some stuff in it today. And I'm going to descatter the desktop a little bit at the same time. So let's get into some of these minor changes. I'm just going to peek them in the browser here so that I can also remember them. And I close these things here as I'm going through them. So I'm done with deep source, done with those. I think at some point we'll have to fix another stylint rule where it's incorrectly complaining. But I wanted to let's get into one of the simple refactors here first, I guess. I'll make this the first one. I think I actually mentioned this last episode too. Where is it here? I don't know why I have it there. That's totally a refactor. So we're just going to put it up here. Split. So I have a function called set stack order. Looks like I got it in about 1,000,007 places here. So what does set stack order do? It can change the stack order, and the stack order is which window is in front of which window at what point, you know? So if you click a window, it goes to the top, and then if you click another one, that one goes to the top, and the one that was on the top goes down one. Simple enough. And the way that I use it is sometimes I put something at the top, and sometimes I remove something from the list. So rather than having this function here that puts it at the top, and then somewhere else I have another function I write sometimes where I remove it, I'm just going to split that into two functions that that you get from the hook. One is to remove it from the stack, and one is to add it to the top of the stack, append to the stack. So that's what I'm going to do. And let's do that. So let me double check what I wrote down as far as how the heck I did that. Because I did it in an ever so simple way, but I don't remember where I put the files. This is where the heck did I put it part of the show. There it is. I'm just going to copy the two functions that I've written down and then figure out, yes. So I'm putting them in the use content. No, why would I put them there? The session, use session. Here we go. So this is the use session hook, and it's the context for it. It's a context anyways, and that's where set stack order is. That's where the stack order is kept track of. So I've done it already in one case here for the start menu. It's just a Boolean, but rather than passing in the dispatch set command, I've created a toggle command so that if it's empty, it'll toggle. If you put something in, it'll be like a setter. So it's a little expanding on the functionality of just a basic dispatch here from useState. Same thing I'm doing here. Instead of just straight up, hey, you have to give me a new array of strings, I'm just going to create these two functions that I've done, prepend to stack and remove from stack. And they're literally, this function and this function are exactly what I've written in several places in my code. And I'm just going to consolidate that. So it makes it a little bigger here, but now it's isolated the logic here to the context. And then in the other places, they just call the right command. Rather than be like, give me the stack setting function, and then I'm going to do some stuff with it. Just like, no, give me the prepend to stack. So it's like, okay, I know you want to prepend to the stack. Very sensible. Another message here from Abin I can follow up on here. Thanks for keep them coming, by the way. Abin baby here. I am too from a non-technical background, but now this pandemic has made me realize the importance of having technical knowledge. So I've started learning, and that too from YouTube. Nice. I think YouTube's a good place for it. There's tons of places on the internet for it. It's probably one of the easiest professions to learn online because it's that's like its world, that's its realm, you know, or one of the places. That's how I feel more powerful online for knowing the stuff that I know. Anyways, let's continue on here. So set stack order, we'll get rid of that there. And then alphabetically, we'll put this here, I think. Elemental P, Q, R, S. Yeah, so P and then R was the remove. So we put those two in there, and then we have to define them up above as well in the type. Get rid of this one in a second. And like I said, it goes up here. So now they're just going to be very simple functions that have an ID, I believe. Yeah. Which thing do you want to prepend? Which thing do you want to remove, in other words? There we go. And we don't need this one anymore. So yeah, prepend and remove from stack, and you just give it an ID. And then the function just takes the ID and then does exactly what it was doing before. So that fixes that piece. Now let's copy this because we're going to need this. So let's go into our search again and find where we've been using this. So here we need to change this. Here, what we were doing with it. What were we doing? Here was a prepend. As you see, we put the ID to the top and then everything else except the ID to the bottom is the way that function was working. Now it's going to be that prepend one where we just say ID. So that looks a lot cleaner from this piece right there. And then we'll just do the same up here. We'll take our prepend that we got and I'll alphabetically import it at that spot. Nice, that one's fixed. Onto WebAmp. Looks like in WebAmp we're doing remove. Yeah, it's just filtering it here. So, oops. Oh yeah, I lost that other one. Darn it. All right, remove. Yeah, I don't remember what it was already. That's why I was copying and pasting them and carrying them with me because I already forgot what they were. There we go. Remove from stack. And just pass the ID. Much cleaner, much more declarative. Or I don't know if declarative is the right word for it, but it's much cleaner anyways, in my opinion. Yeah, this wants to go here. Let's make this so confusing. Let's dump a million things in here. There we go. Nice, that one's done. Next up. Oh wait, there was still one in here? Ah, yes, the dependencies. So for this is easy enough because it's got nice autofix. I'll just remove it from here and then autofix to add it back. Control S to fix the prettier. Nice. Did the other one I changed require dependencies? I don't think so. Where was it here? Prepend. No, it's just being used straight in the component. Versus this one, which the other one was being used in a hook. Okay, this is another prepend. Again, much cleaner. And fix the import, and we'll have to fix this as well. Get rid of that. Prepend, and we just auto update this. This is some of the slightly tedium of refactoring, but at the same time, I feel like you're I'm making the code more clear. That looks a lot more clear than whatever it was before, where it had a little bit of logic mixed in there. This one is a removal. So remove from stack. Remove from stack. Nice, nice and clean. This is all over the place here. This is a mess. What did I do here? Oh, I still have this up here. Get out of there. And then auto import once again. There we go. Again, yeah, it looks so much cleaner. So on close, remove from stack, close with transition, set foreground ID. I'm quite happy with how much refactoring I've done to get it down to that. I need to do more of this, you know? I mean, they say, yeah, I need to do more of this. Always got to remember to fix this. I always forget. This is just the initial values for the hooks. And I have to set these defaults in order to be more confident with my TypeScript that it's not going to walk crazy out on me. There we go. So now the logic's only here in a few places. If we look at the changes, so we moved the logic here, and now we were in the initials we set up. And then, yeah, we were able to kind of shrink this a bit. I mean, not a huge amount, but it's more clear. This is like, what's going on here? If you're just casually coming by. Yeah, much more easy there. The prepend one looks nicer. The prepend one really shrinks better than the other one. From 4 lines to 1 versus 2 to 1, I think, or 3 to 1. I don't know. Anyways, we're done with that. So let's copy whatever it is I wrote as the explanation and use that as the commit message. Yes, split that into that. 5 characters over. Oh no. What's going to happen? So we've done that. Let's go on our minimizing spree where we minimize stuff. That's not correct. Is this alphabetically wrong? What happened here? Or I moved this. Oh yeah, I moved something. I guess I refactored some stuff here. That's not what we need to look at right now though. Yes, it was this stuff I wanted to minimize. So we finished the prepend part. It's more of the same. Yeah, the file views one is going to be fun when we get to it. Are there any more places to do this? Oh yes, here as well. Oh man, a ton of places. There we go. And remove from. That one as well. There we go. So what was next up on my list here? I missed it. The start menu stuff. So these are some minor ones. We'll probably just do all these at once. Just these 3 changes here to the start menu. These are some basic visual changes from what we already have. So the style start menu, I've decided to make it a little blurrier because I started looking more at the Windows start menu and it could use a little more blur. And I've also decided to try to avoid using this like 0.5 anywhere that I can. I mean, I'm using it in this font here. I'll accept it in a font, but I'm even going to reconsider that possibly. The libraries, I don't care if they use it. Oh man, every one of them does. But I just don't like using these half percentages. I feel like it somehow makes the computer work harder than it needs to for nothing. You get almost nothing out of it. So I'd like to also make it a little shorter from 390 pixels to 350. And like I said, background color from 12 to 12.5, pretty minor. So let's take a look at what it looks like. So as you can see there, it made pretty much no difference. It made it a little shorter. Hard to tell that it's any blurrier. And I guess it's 0.5% darker. Yeah, I guess. So well, that looked closer to the start menu anyways, long story short. So we're just going to make that into tweaks to start menu visuals. Let's just do that. Just some minor tweakage. Yeah, 12, 12, and 350. I didn't want to do completely 320 and make it a square. I wanted there to be a little more height. So what's next? I noticed that there was one other one here, WebAmp singleton, or I guess the singleton logic is in general. Maybe we can do that. Add singleton logic to processes. So let's try that. So the idea here is one of the things I fixed was that in WebAmp, if you open one with WebAmp and then you open another one via an MP3, it was opening 2 versions of WebAmp. I want a way to be able to say for a process that whether you open it directly without a URL or with a URL, treat that as the same. And if you just find the process and then update the URL only. And that was allowing me to, so we can show you here. I'll show you here. Let me just get a piece of music here from my slow hard drive. 3 doors down is my classic example. So if I open up Winamp here, we get WebAmp, there it is. But then if I open up 3 doors down, you see we get 2. And then they mostly live okay together. Oh no, they have an issue with focus anyways. But it doesn't matter. I don't want 2 instances to run. What I want to happen, oh yeah, see close is all messed up too. So it gets messed up when you do that. Especially for certain processes, which is why I want it to be on a per process kind of thing. So let's kind of try to figure out what the heck I did there. So singleton is just the word that I decided to use to reference that. Let's go to the directory. Actually, yeah, before we do this, I wanted to remove these types. That was something else I had done. I've decided to just say processes is going to have a types file, because we're exporting a bunch of stuff here anyways. Let's just make the directory a lot smaller. There we go. So that's about the process types, and then the directory is separate from that, and it can import that here. Ugh, bad import. I'll just type it out, context-process. And I have to fix it there, and I have to rearrange it. There we go. Let's make that the first one, is moved process types to file. So we clean that up a tiny bit. So now what I wanted to do here is, let's say for winamp, I want elemental PQRS. So here, singleton false, no, true, sorry. So I only want a single instance of this ever. And then we'll go into the types here and we'll set singleton as a thing, as an optional Boolean. I'll save those. So that gets us the first extremely basic piece that doesn't really get us too much. The next piece of the puzzle I figured out was in the open process piece, which is in the process functions. So there's the, what is it complaining about here? Oh, the types have moved now, right? So instead of directory, it's types. I have to fix this in a few places probably. Oh, why did I do that? Oh, just reorganized it there. Okay. There's probably a few other places where this is wrong. Let me fix this quick. I should have done this when I just did that previous commit, but I didn't. So it's probably broken in a few places. Actually, it's pretty good. This is all correct. That's how it should have been before. Yeah, this is wrong here. Types. And rearrange once again. Okay. So that's another thing now. So these two here, this one and this one were part of that type fix. Update imports for process types move. That was part of that, yeah. Maybe I should have made a note about this, because I'm onto the singleton thing here. Yeah, let's just do that. What do I call it? Extract process types to a file. Cool. And we're not at that fixes piece yet. We're at the singleton thing now. So yeah, we did that. We added it here. And then, like I said, at the open process piece, which I've lost already again. Here it is. Open process. So yeah, when the process is opened, I've added some logic right in front of it. And let's take a look at what I added, because I don't even quite remember. But luckily this was, I think, it. So if the process ID, so we get from the process directory, we look for the process. I have it here as a possibly might not exist. I guess that's fair. I'd be surprised if it wasn't there though. This process ID should always be a real process. I could fix my types, I guess, so that I'm certain of it. Maybe I should. I'll make a note to do that, I suppose. Yeah, let's do that. I'll make a note for next stream. Update process ID types to be key of process directory. I'll do that for next week because I'm not 100% sure on that implementation, but it would make my types a little tighter. So anyways, I check for the singleton value within the process. Actually, do I need to do it this way? Maybe, because there's a chance the process isn't loaded yet, so I'm not going to necessarily find it in current processes, but I will find it in the directory. And this is the process ID before we turn it into a PID, because the PID is like a mixture of a process ID and a URL. And if there's no URL, then it is just the process ID, but we can't assume that. But we do know this is correct. So let's say the singleton's true. We look for the current process by taking the current processes, their keys, and seeing if any of them match, either directly match the process ID. So let's say when I open WebAmp just directly from the shortcut on the desktop, the process ID is also WebAmp, the PID, let's say. But if I open it up via a URL, it's like WebAmp __ the URL. And the reason for that is because that allows me to save a session for each process. So let's say you open you open v86 Doom via its doom.zip file. Then it'll remember the window size for Doom and the position and everything. So it works anyways, but it means that if I want to find the current PID, I have to look for its basic name or its name as a process that already was launched initially from a file. But this will make sure that I get one of the instances. So the next time it runs, it's going to check, and the first time. And then if this is blank, if this finds the PID, then all I do is update the URL here. I say set the process to the process setting, which is a function I already have here. And what this does is it updates all the current processes. So from the current processes, it takes the current PID and updates this value. And the URL is being passed in from here. So that's the basics of what this does, and then this doesn't change at all. So if it doesn't find the current PID, it's not going to do a return here, and it's going to keep going, and it's going to make it perfectly fine. And that'll be the first instance. And then the next time, it'll update the URL. So that still works. So I think that was the logic. Let's try it out. I think what will happen is nothing will be ideal. So let's see, we open WebAmp, that's fine, but then if we open this one, yeah, you see it didn't do anything. So for now that's good, because what did happen, if you go to the WebAmp code, which is here, so this is the WebAmp component, and where's the URL? Right here. So the URL probably changed. And I actually have a thing here to monitor the URL change, but currently I only assume it happens once. So the first time the file system is there, it reads, gets the URL, if there was one, and whether there was one or not, what is it complaining about here? Well, this is wrong. Why does it think that? It doesn't know what FS is? Why is that? I think the file types are just being silly. If I closed VS Code and opened it, I bet it'd be fine, but it's probably angry about all my yarn package deletions. This is just a TypeScript thing, but it's wrong. Anyways, it loads files. It doesn't do it a second time. See, this load WebAmp command doesn't, I don't think, it doesn't work a second time, I think is the issue. So what I need, watch, we can see here. What I'll do is I'll say here, console.log URL. I'll refresh the page here. Actually, I'll do it in the browser then so we can see it. Oh no, I don't have my MP3 here. I have to find another MP3. I'll drag in a different one then. Music. We'll get some back loser. Okay, so I double click Winamp. It opens. Right, and you see in the console nothing because there was no URL. If I click back again, there we go. So it did re-trigger WebAmp. So now that's on the app. So on a per app basis, I'll have to say when your URL changes, you figure out what to do with it. Because in the case of WebAmp, it actually has a totally different API for WebAmp's already loaded. I want to change the file. So I'll write that at a later date. For now, we have the singleton logic now. So now WebAmp can't open twice or nothing. And it'll update this. It looks like it doesn't update it twice. Right, because the URL's already been changed, so it doesn't change it again. Is that right? Let me put another piece of music and see if then it changes. Bee Gees. There we go. Okay, yeah. So double clicking will work. It's just that I need WebAmp to handle it and also to refocus when I double click. But the singleton part, I think, makes sense. So let me close and review. So we don't need that anymore. That was just for being a looky-loo. This gives all the apps the ability to now know when a URL change occurs. So the app is a singleton, then when it loads it, check, and if it is, get the current one, and if there is a current one, just update that one's URL. Otherwise, just make it like you were before. Okay, cool. So add singleton logic to processes. Nice. I think that's it. Let me double check the code again here, because you never know. That's it for this piece here, at least. Let me find the word singleton somewhere else. This I did too already, where I moved that over. Yeah, okay, that was it. This was also moving from directory to type, so I can minimize that as well. That was deleting the package JSON, that happened before. Oh, that's another piece I have to get to in a second. Okay, cool. Added singleton logic. Let's commit drumroll to make sure in my mind that I'm okay with it. Yeah, I'm doing it. So another one here I wanted to do was styled add resolution for styled components. So this is another interesting one that I saw, and it's actually, so I saw this before, but then I wasn't using Yarn, and now that I'm using Yarn. So remember, I've got styled components installed, and if I look at the installation, it actually says here, if your package manager like Yarn, if you use one like Yarn that supports resolutions, we also highly recommend you add this entry to just resolve any kind of conflicts with dependencies. So I'm going to do that because it sounds like a decent tip. Why not? So in my package file, above the dependencies, I'm going to put it here. I'm just going to say, any of the sub-dependencies have an issue with styled components, always try to go with v5 because locally I'm using 5.3 already. So that's a simple one. Added styled components resolution. I'll put v5 resolution. There we go. And I prefer the way I wrote it there, but I like the capital S and C. Okay. Now that that one's done, I think that was, oh, right, there was another piece here. Oh, right, I think that's exactly the issue from before. So I think that's related to this here. If you guys remember, where was it? Where it was like saying that the file system was wrong. I think that Yarn is having an issue importing the browser FS piece. Yeah, so it doesn't know what FS is because it doesn't get the file system type properly from the context here. The FS module is wrong because it's not getting the browser FS stuff, as we can see right here. And the fix for that involved updating this Git repo. So the Yarn way of doing, the NPM way before, this was working, I thought, but the Yarn way is like this. And I think the way that I did it involved a Yarn command. So let's try it with the command. Yarn add that. I think that might work. Let's just try that. So I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to hope that it updates the package file. Okay, cool. That's what happened before. So I'm hoping that worked. And yeah, now these are all resolved, except for this one for some reason. This is the same one from before. Let's try committing this, and then I'm going to close VS Code and reopen it. Hopefully nothing crashes. So, well, what did I just do here? I need to make a note of that. Updated browser FS GitHub link. I'm actually going to put that up here because that's part of what I had to do to move to Yarn, I guess. So let's save that. Let's commit that. Let's push these 12 commits that we have and see if the pipeline's doing okay, which we'll check GitHub Actions. And I'm going to switch right now to the browser, and I'm going to kill that VS Code session and reopen a new one and see if it's completely stopped complaining about browser FS. So what else did I do here? Otherwise, nothing else. So we'll close this because one way or another, the changes are all there. And I wanted to go to the top for a second, just open up this actions one as well. So the actions, as you see here, it's a pipeline running now because I pushed it. So we'll see it later if this goes green and that means that it worked. I'll take a peek at that later. Back to VS Code, nice. So I've reloaded VS Code. We're gonna rerun the dev environment here. And we're going to check if the file system thing is not complaining no more. It's loading. We'll see in a second. There we go. So now you see it says API error. So now it knows what error is. So if I hover over FS, it knows that's an FS module. There we go. So now we fixed all of our package problems, which is nice. Interesting that when I ran build, it didn't complain. But hey, whatever. This just seems more compatible, this version of Git URL. It seems happier with that, so we'll just do that. Next up, so we did this too. I don't know what other fixes, so let's just remove that for now. Before I get to these, I wanna, actually no, let's just jump into it. What is the next one? All right, so we have to add a view for switching file manager. What I mean by that is these icons right here on the desktop, that's like the file manager piece that renders which, like how to show the icons, kind of. Let's just get into it. So system, files, file manager, right here. Basically what I want to do is this styled, I don't know if this is the most sensible way to use styled components either. I'm still debating it, but it's a way, and it's the way I've decided to do it for now. There might be an argument for passing props here and having a component that, I don't know how it would work. Like I could pass a prop here and then selectively do the styling, but they're so different. And one thing too is I'm thinking maybe for the column view, I might not want to do OLs and LIs, ordered list and LI elements, list items. I might want to do a table for the column list, let's say. So the styling could be completely different. I'm not decided on that anyways, so well, I am decided enough to show a system that I've decided on. So let's just do that, and I'll show you guys what my thinking was. So basically my thinking for this here, which is the OL container that's styled, and the LI items, which are also styled, I'm going to replace these with a dynamic piece. Basically this. So I'm going to have this file manager's view object where you tell it a view and it'll give you the styled components based on the view. So that's my logic for that at the moment. I'm not sure if that's the most sensible way to do it. So we'll remove this import here. And then what we need to do is we also need to pass the view down to the file entry. The file entry is also going to need to know the view for some reason that I can't quite recall yet, but let's just get there as we get there. So the file manager is going to also have to have a view field now, like so. And it's going to be this type that I made called the file manager view names. Currently the only view is icon view, which is basically this view we're seeing right here. You could call it the desktop view too. I'm just calling it icon. Windows could call it large icons maybe, or medium icons. I think they're like medium icons. I'm just going to call it icons for now because it's the only view I have. And then we'll import those files that I don't yet have yet, which are the file manager view names and the file manager views. So that is a piece of that puzzle. Now, I wanted to move the file entries into their own folder, which is in files. I'm going to make another folder called views. And within that, I'm going to make another folder called icon view, I think it's called. I might call it icons. I haven't, let me double check. What did I call that thing in the end? Did I have a name for it? Yes. Let's import the main file of views so that we can see what I was doing here. So within views, I have an index file. And I've written the index file already, so let's take a peek at it. So basically, I don't have this menu piece yet. I only have one view at the moment, but we'll get to another one very shortly. Also, I forgot I called it list now, so I should change that. We'll do some renaming here. But this is the basics of how I wanted that. Yeah. So here is the file manager views, which like I said is just an object, which I've decided to use the record part of TypeScript to just say it's an object of objects. Like it's an object that has these records where it's using the file manager view name. Currently the only name possible is icon, and it's got a file manager view. And what the view is a file entry and the file manager. And what are those? Currently it's styled components that are an LI and an OL. And in the future, I might have another one, like I say, and have a table type element. But this is just my way of dynamically loading a different type of styled component depending on a view. You could pass the view in as a prop to the styled component and then do conditional rendering. But I have a lot, they look so different that I've decided to try this approach. Not sure if it makes sense yet. So yeah, I did use icon for the folder name here. So let's copy those out of here. So take styled file manager and move it into icon. And take styled file entry and move it into icon. That fixes this piece, I think. Let me close it and open it, and then it'll be less stubborn. Yeah, so that part's right. Icon props. I haven't gotten there yet. what was icon props? So I think another thing I had to do for the views, and this is the reason I think why the file entry needed to know the view, is that the icon itself, its size is dependent on that. So like if it's an icon view, it's a 48 by 48 icon, versus if it's a list view, it's only a 24 by 24, I think, or something to that extent. So that's another piece that we're going to have to add. Just going to take a peek at the code again here. In an attempt to remember what it is I had to change, I've lost track slightly of where I was in my own changes, which is unfortunate for everyone involved. The file system stuff we don't need to look at. That, yeah, I mean, we don't need to have these things maximized. It's just a waste of space. Here's icon props anyways. Oh, I had icon props before, so let's go to that. Icon props. So I had it before, but I wasn't exporting it. So before I was saying icon props, the things you pass into an icon was just size. I've decided to call that image size, and I've made a display size. The reason for that is currently I have 16 by 16 icons, and I have 48 by 48. And most of the source icons that I got, the .ico files, had many dimensions, and those were two of the dimensions they had. But what they did not have was 24 by 24. Unfortunately, the start menu icons that I'm seeing in my Windows 10 are 24 by 24. So what I've decided to do is for the icons to make it so that you can say, the image I want you to use is the 48 one, but I want you to display it at whatever, 24 in this case. So we need to change that slightly, the icon props, to expect that instead. And I'm just going to completely change the icon here. And we'll see what changed. Actually, I'll paste the different one here. So that's the, let me close this. So this is the old one, and here's what I want it to be. What changed? So yeah, I just needed image size and display size here instead of size. It's still draggable, same, oh right, so yeah, here's where it makes sense. So for height, I'm saying, instead of size, you're going to use the display size, or if you haven't specified display size, use the native image size. For the URL itself, just use image size, because that's referring to the file. And for the width, it's the same thing. Use the display size or the image size. Right, so that's the change I did. And I'll just kind of do that. And we might be able to see that in the changes here. Why don't I see it there? There we go. Yeah, so I just changed the height and the width and the source to be image size and display size. And we can close that piece. Now icon props is correct for here. So I've made a file entry icon size because, like I said, the file entry view needs to know about which icon size. So we will go into the file entry and do that as well. Where is it here? Yeah, so right now here the icon has size. We're gonna instead do this and say based on the view. And we'll pass the view in here. LMNOPQRS TUV, and the view is a string. I think that is correct. This has to be image size now. There we go. And it's gonna pass, wait a minute. I'm not sure that's right. Let me double check. This part's done, the icon piece. So, right, I have to add view to the file manager because I added it to the component, right? In the file manager here, remember I added view. So the places I'm calling the file manager, just want to make sure that I'm now properly saying icon for the file explorer, yeah. Eventually this might be a column view or detail view, but it's not yet. And eventually people will be able to change it dynamically on the fly. And the desktop, of course, is icon view. So that fixes those two pieces. So next comes to this. So for the icon view, image size, okay, yes. So that means that I had this wrong. Here, this piece here, instead of saying image size, I'll just say whatever the view is, dump it in there. There we go. And I have to import this. It doesn't know where the heck this is from. Of course. Was it in files? Yeah, it was files. There we go. rearrange this, and as you see, we have our icons now. There we go. So when it loads this icon, it's going to get the view based on the file entry size piece. So in this case, it just has image size, so it's going to dump image size there. But I could also say display it at a different value, and I could just show you that now. So display size, let's say I put 12. Now if I save that, you see the icons got very weird looking and squished and not ideal. But that's because there's a lot of CSS backing that as well. So though, this is just another piece for using the view the way that I want for now. Might not be ideal down the road, I'm not sure. We'll see. Yeah, there's a few ways it could be done. I question it now, but it's just the way it has to be. See, the size has to be explicitly passed in. It can't just be in CSS because I want the elements themselves to have the size value on them, because that's it helps from a Lighthouse score point of view to have it like that. And I think there's some reasoning behind why they do that. So for now, it looks a little silly, but it's actually not so bad, and it's organized. So let's move on to the next piece of that implementation. Image size, yeah, I've set that. Wait, did I set this one? The title bar. Let's go back to the code and make sure I've updated all the icons correctly. I think I missed a couple. That one's good. This one, yeah, is wrong. So this one we can just say image size. We want those to be 16. Save that. Same with this one here. It can be image size 16. And same here. Those ones we're happy with the icons the way they are. And this is the icon itself, so that's okay. So we're almost there. We're almost at the point where we have a, well, I guess we are there in a way, because you can see above me we have the file explorer showing, so the view is working. But I just want to make sure we didn't miss anything, because I feel like it was too easy. That's a little too easy. But sometimes it is. So that's, I have to get back to this one when we do the list view. And that's for that list view. We haven't done the single click piece yet because that's another piece. This part here, but that I need the single click piece also. Rename box. Right, so that's another piece of this. There's this styled rename box. So when I right click an item and I go rename, it looks like that. Oh, sorry guys. Let me switch over to the code. So when I right click an item and go rename, you see it's like this little input box, you know, to rename something. And it renamed it, cool, worked. But that rename box is specific to the icon view. So I'm actually gonna move that in the icon view as well. The styled rename box. And for now, maybe I won't. Let's not. Let's leave it in views. And for now, I'm not going to restyle it because we don't, until we have column view on file manager, we're not going to be renaming icons that are small like that. So for now, this is fine. This is the only place we're going to rename it. But in the future, I might switch this to be nested rules. So like if you're in the styled icon, look like this. If you're in the styled blah, 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 you know, that kind of thing. So that's the hope. So I did move it slightly. I've moved it to a different spot in views, which is kind of what I did last time here. So great minds think alike, talking about myself, which is kind of stupid. We did that piece. I think we're done that piece. What was this? What did I just do? Add view switching. Yeah, so I haven't done the menu one yet. Move icon view into the views. Did that. Make icon size based on view. Yeah. So I haven't done the start menu view yet, but the icons are the right size. Let's check out what I changed here. So yeah, some of these are really basic. Just setting the default to icon there. Same here, making the size dynamic for the file entries so that it can be based on the file manager view. Move the rename box and updated the import. These ones all got moved. This one here, what is this again? Oh yes, this is where I made the dynamic piece here. So now it's based on this import here instead of being imported up here like it was before. Yeah, that part's good. and using view, which is a file manager view. I like the restrictedness of that type. This was a very simple one here, just kind of started to make the little mapping. So there's an icon one, and it uses these two components. It has this icon size. We're going to add a menu one here very shortly for the start menu. And this is just the styling. I didn't change any of this. So this was just moving these 3 files. So that just moved them into a different folder. This here, again, updating the icon to be image size instead of size, because now we can display it differently. Just a little extra feature for the icons. It's almost 2 features there that I did at once, but... And then icon, I did that, which is the feature I just explained. Cool. So let's call that add view, switching to file manager, and size adjusting to icon. Let's say view switching to file manager and size adjusting to icon. Yeah, I like it. So that was a rather hefty change, I'd say. That was basically everything here. We moved the icon folders, subfolder, and that, yeah. So let's create the start menu view. That's the next thing. Let's look where we did it here. Maybe before we create the start menu view, we should get the file manager in, because that's actually quite easy. Where was that here? Here it is. So it actually requires we make a new folder, because we need a new folder to show. Actually, I'll show you the desktop first. So let's go to this. What is this? The start menu? Yeah. The start menu. There's its index right here. So basically it's empty right now. We'll make it not empty. Well, we're going to put a file manager in there. And for now, we'll say that the URL is the desktop and the view is going to be icon, because that's what we have. We'll import the file manager here. No, it wants to import it completely wrong. Luckily, I have the import string right there. Okay, so we save that. So now when I click the start menu, cool, we have our desktop inside our start menu as a separate file manager. So now what we need to do is we need to instead use a different folder called the start folder, and we'll put icons in there that we want to show in the start menu. And then the next thing will be to change the view. So let's do that. So let's switch it from desktop to start, and we'll make a folder in our public called start. And I'm going to take a few desktop icons and move them there, actually. I'm going to move Doom there. I'm going to move Calibri. And I think I'll keep the rest. So we have Linux to have an example of v86. Actually, maybe I should keep Doom then too, so we have an example of JS-DOS. The problem is all those icons are really good examples. Calibri is repetitive because it's another v86 example, but the JS-DOS on the desktop is nice. I guess we'll just have, well, let's have 2 shortcuts for the example. Or do we? I need another shortcut. All right, we'll move Doom for now. We'll move it back later when we have more shortcuts. So we move Doom. So something I have to do now, oops, not split the terminal, is kill the session, and let's just, oh, I did npm and to do yarn. We need to do a build fs to update the file system files. Simple enough. And now we can load dev again. Now when we reload the page, it should be a little changed. There we go. So Doom is gone and Calibri is gone. And if we open this, here they are. But they're using the desktop view still. So that's our next thing to change. Let me just see where I have that code, because I actually have lost it. Huh. I seem to have lost my start menu code, unfortunately. I know it's here somewhere, but where? Let's make the file then. Oh, okay, I found it anyways. So we need to make a subfolder in those views. Components, system, start menu. No, not start menu. Files, views. So we have icon here. We need another one called menu. And in there, we will create another styled file entry. Oops. Entry.ts. Same file name. And I'm going to paste in this, but then I'm going to remove all this CSS. Don't look, close your eyes. There we go. Secret CSS until we're done. And I'm going to make another file called the start file manager, or styled file manager, sorry. And it's going to be the same story. Put the CSS in there, hide it from you guys, because we'll build it. We have it all here. But we need to build up another piece here, the index. So I'm gonna add, so now we have icon, we're gonna add list, and we're gonna add lists to the list here of possible file view names. And we have to import those 2 menu entries that we just made. Oh, wait a minute. I'm calling it menu, I'm calling it list. So I think I decided to call it list in the end, because it's like a list, and I'm gonna call the other one detail when I do it in the future. So we'll call these lists, because I actually prefer that, and that's consistent with other stuff. That's good there, and I'm gonna rename the folder to list. There we go. Close and reopen this so it stops being silly. And then one other piece. So here's another piece where I was doing trickiness, and I have a comment. So here, yeah, so I've done list, and here's where I needed to use display size, because like I said, I want to use the 48 version of the icon and then shrink it down. I could even use the 16 version and increase its size, but that would look bad. So we'll do it the other way around. And I've got a little note here to create 24 by 24 icons. I might do that. I think I might do that. What I need is a fallback. I need image size. I need the URL to check if it's possible to use display size. Because sometimes I'll have 24 pixel images, sometimes I won't. Let's make a note anyways in our next stream. Create 24 by 24 icons, and we'll see if I get there. Probably not, spoiler alert. So we got our list entry now. Why is it complaining about this now? Didn't I just fix this a second ago? Views, list, component, system, FUD on YouTube. Reconnection successful. Okay. I'm going to consider it still okay. So as far as why this is buggy, views, I got a list here. What's wrong with this? That's a weird one. I wonder why. Oh, maybe because I need to rename it here? I'm very confused. Styled file entry, styled file manager. That seems fine to me. So, and the code runs. Let's see if this looks okay. That I haven't changed yet. Let's just move on. So here's the part where we say in the start menu, it's not an icon anymore, it's a list. And let's see what happens. Cool, so that partially worked actually. There they are. You click them, they don't do a lot. I have a few things I need to change here, which will change, but that's a good first step. So yeah, I don't know why it's saying that they're wrong, but I'm gonna ignore that piece for now. Is it already stopped complaining? Let me double check. No, it's still complaining about that. What if I just delete these? And then I try to re-import them. Now is it okay with them? Seems like it. And I close the folder again, file again, I open it. Now they're fine. It just required the old cut paste, I guess. Let's kill the dev terminal and restart it just in case. You never know with this thing. So there we got that piece. We got this. We open this. We get a menu now. Oops. We get a menu. It's not styled the way we want. But now we can move on to styling it the way we want. So I will paste in my CSS now, and we can try to figure out what I've done. So the first thing I did is in the file manager, I've added, the only thing I did for the file manager piece, the container piece, is to add padding of 7 on the top. So now when you click here, there's a little bit of padding. It's not easy to see. If I remove the padding and save it, you see the Doom logo is like right at the top, versus if I have the padding, there's a little difference there. Pretty much unnoticeable in that example, but once the list entries have borders and stuff, then it's more obvious, that padding. Probably I could have done that last, honestly, but I didn't. Now I'm just going to paste in the rest, and we're going to go over it here. So the file entry, I've got this. Oh, it's actually not that much. I thought I had more. Nice. For some reason, the pasting has completely destroyed my spacing here, so I'll add it back in. There we go. So this is the file entry. There's not much to it. So in the figure, the main container, I basically said, I want this transparent border. And the reason I have a 1 pixel transparent border is so that when you hover and I add a 1 pixel border, it doesn't do any like layout shifting. Because if there's no border and then you add a 1 pixel border on hover, it actually moves things by 1 pixel. So I have this invisible one so it doesn't move things. I've told it to display flex. So by default, instead of having the items like this, it's going to do that because that's just a default for flex, which is what I prefer. The height I've noticed by looking at windows seems to be 36 pixels per entry, per start menu entry. There seemed to be a 1 pixel bottom padding, it looks like here I've noted. Why? That I don't completely recall. I think I remember that. I think that was because when I do flex and I do height and I do place item center, the place that it put them, for some reason on Windows, it's one more up from that. So by adding that bottom padding, I just slightly adjust it so that everything's lined up properly, the icon and the text. So that was just a little minor adjustment I noticed. And eventually I'll move these numbers to the theme. I'm just being lazy about it. And then, yeah, I've added that hover effect, like I say. So when you hover, it'll add a border and it adds a background. And this is where I was talking about in the future, I'll have that like flashlight effect where it knows exactly where the mouse is. And this piece is going to be more dynamic and it'll probably be passed in as a prop. And I'll be using that fancy radial that had an XY part of it. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Might be hard to do. I'm not sure. Maybe styled components won't be performant with it. I don't know. And then as far as the image here for the start menu items, I noticed that they had about 3 padding on the left and 8 padding on the right, made them line up perfectly with where they are in the example. And the text is white. So that's it. So let's take a look and see what it looks like now. So we click the start menu item. Doesn't look as good as I expected, honestly. Look, the padding looks a bit off. Huh, that's what I have. Well, I might have to follow up on it. Let me move it up. Let me load it here instead and see. Sorry, I switched to my browser here. Yeah, I guess that's it. I mean, it looks nice anyways. You see we get the effect now. You see there's that little space at the top and the text it lines up right. The pixels are 24 by 24 based on the larger ones. Yeah, I think that's good for now. I'm not super happy with how it looks, the padding, but I think that is how it is. And the thing is that that's not here right now is that the start menu has a left nav element that I'm going to add. And also there might be a scroll bar in the near future, depending on how many items I have on this. But there's going to be that left bar where it's like you pick the program list, you have your user profile, you have the shutdown button. So I still haven't added that piece. But when you add that piece, it's going to move the list over a little bit. And then you guys will see that it looks more like a Windows one. Because this part actually is pretty close. So, but like I said, I don't have the spotlight piece yet. And also we don't have currently the single click working for items. So if I click an item right now, nothing happens. So the next step is going to be adding the single click functionality possibility, which we'll do right now. So let's just see where we were with the task, with the entries piece. Also, let's quickly check out oh, that never finished? Jeez, that's a long pipeline now. Whatever, I'm not going to think about that for now. So we did the styled components now. What is next up on the docket? I wanted to double check that we didn't miss anything, but I don't think we did. Yeah, not with that piece we didn't. I'm going to close these. And let's review what we changed again. So we added the list view with the components and the different image we wanted. We added that basic styling to make it look kind of how we want, hopefully. A little padding at the top was necessary to make it look like Windows. Here's where we added the file manager into the start menu so that it was a piece of it. So in the future, above this, we'll add another component called like left nav or something, and that'll be the left nav. We had to update the file system because we moved the desktop icons, and that's it. So added, what did I put in the notes that I was doing here? Create start menu file view. Yeah, that's what I did. Start menu file view. Done. And that moves us on to that next piece, the ability to actually click the thing. So allow single clicks. Let's see what I did here to make that happen. I think I have a thing called single click. Yeah, so in the use double click hook, I've added some logic. So it's a little silly sounding, but there's a hook called use double click that works with single clicks because it's just an edge case I need. So we're gonna put it up here. It's optional, and it's a Boolean that we can pass in. We don't typically pass in timeout, although I've set it here. Yeah, why do I have that? Maybe that's totally unnecessary. I guess I have it here so that I can set it there nicely. Oh right, this was actually part of what I wanted to change anyways. Is I wanted this to be a constant called double click timeout in milliseconds, which was 500, we decided. So I'll just make that a constant with all the others. What was it alphabetically? Double, so it'd be like here, let's say. There we go. Export that. Hopefully it can import here without too much trouble. Yeah, nice. So that's one little piece of simplicity. We'll add the single click in here as well. And its default is false. What is it doing there? Oh, because it's not used. Okay, fair. And then as far as the logic, so I was thinking here, currently what I want it to do, if it's a single click, I want this to happen. So it stops the event from propagating and then runs whatever the handler event is. What I've decided to do for that is up here, I'm making a different command that extracts this piece called run handler. So in the case of if there's no timer, I mean, this was already the original functionality basically, but now I want to be able to use run handler in one other case, which is the single click case. So what we're going to do is just change this to be like that. So if it's single click, just run the handler right away. Otherwise, do the other stuff that you were doing before and possibly run the handler here. So, because the handler part I need either way. If you single click, okay, stop the event and run the function we passed. So that was the basics for refactoring that. And then I have to add this dependency as well. So that should allow me to do single clicks, I believe. And where else do we need to update that? The file entry needs to know about this. Bob would want to know about this. No. So the file manager actually is the one that needs to know, I think. Yeah, so the file entry is here, but at this point I can make a single click hook that I've decided on. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of this long term, but basically what I've done here is like a Boolean logic that says, check the view. Anytime the view changes, if it's list, then make it single click items. Now in the future, I might turn this into like some other kind of constant that's like views that are single click option. But also at the same time, maybe this is something the user might want to set. So here's at least a Boolean now to control it. The logic for it is a little simple right now in that I just care about the list view. But we'll see down the road if that changes. And I'm just going to pass that along to the here. Actually, maybe that should be in the file entry. Why do I have it here? I think this might be an error on my part logically. Maybe at one point I thought this made sense. Let's try to not do that because we're already passing view here. So let's just deal with that concern on the file entry. I'm not sure why I wasn't doing that originally. I think I was passing single click in here, which does not make sense. Oh, in that case, I don't need that use Memo import that I did either. Yeah, that's better. So then where was single click being used here? Yeah, I was importing it in. And the logic for it is being used where? Here, the double click. Right, there we go. That's much more sensible to have it here. Why the heck was I passing it? Yeah, sometimes it's good to be able to take a second look and refactor your code, you know? So, okay, so we've updated the double click for the file entries to say it's single click if it's a list view. And what else were we using view for? Yeah, we're also using view here, right? Was there any other pieces to this puzzle? I don't think so. Yeah, I think I've updated everything there. So let's try that out. Actually, we could just try it out over here on the smaller screen, I think, can't we? Yeah. So we open up a file entry, and now a single click should open this. Click. But it didn't. Did I save everything? Okay. Now we look at all the code changes and see what else have I missed, because I would have thought that would have done something. Is it related to this? Oh, it might be related to this. It might be that when I'm clicking, I'm losing focus. That could be the missing piece of this puzzle. And what is this here? This is in the start button. We're not there yet about that part. I don't know what I even did there, but we're not quite there yet. This I just did. So it must be related to the clicking not having focus. I must be losing the focus, which is something I did resolve here. So let's take a peek at what I did there. Where is that? That's in the start menu. So we're not already in the right place, but it does make sense. It's start menu related. Here it is. Okay, so I'm trying to understand what the heck I changed. This was the logic I changed here. This condition here. And I'm just going to paste in what it is now. So before, oh, I see. So it's like two nestings here. So I've added it. Wait, is that all I did? Oh yeah, that's all I did. Okay, so this is really simple. Let's not even worry about this. This didn't change. So all I did is I wrap this piece in a new condition where I say, if the thing you clicked was inside the start menu, was not inside the start menu. Ah, okay, that's what's happening. So when I click something inside the start menu, I was losing focus because it was doing this. So, but I don't want it to do any of this or this, if it's something in the start menu. If it's in the start menu, let the thing in the start menu deal with it. So with that little condition adding, now it should work. So now when I open here and I click, there we go. So now we have a start menu that can launch stuff. Can launch Calibri too. And I'll reload that before it explodes or something. Okay, that was another piece of it. And that might have been it. I think all that I have left now is like visual fixes that I wanted to do. So let's take another review of what we did here. We added the single click event and we fixed the focus of the start menu so that it doesn't steal the single click events. And that was it. That's all we needed. So let us find allow single clicks for use double click hook. Yep. Cool. So we did that. Now there's two fixes I noticed that I wanted to go over, 2 or 3 things. This I think we'll see if we need that. We'll need that depending on how I think based on this actually we'll need that. Or no, based on this one I think was the problem. So what I've done here is I've changed some of the visuals for hover. If we look at the start menu right now, so you see when the cursor right above me here, right there, I'm moving it around. So when I hover over the button, it turns blue. When I click it, it doesn't do anything. I think that's wrong, first of all. Oh yes, so when you first push down on the button before you let go, it actually changes to be slightly darker. And then you see when I hover off, that also shouldn't happen. When the menu is up and active, it should stay in this like visually hovered effect. But if I'm not on the button, then it should be white, the logo, instead of blue. So that's the subtle tweaks that I wanted to tweak. And we're going to do that now by going into the start button, because this is start button stuff. So it's in the taskbar, start button, styled start button, I think. Yeah, exactly. And we're going to have to pass in an active prop so we know if it's being used. So we're going to add some styled start button props here. And we're going to add that as a prop, as the type here. And I'm going to double check where I was using that to make sure I pass active now. So we'll pass active right here, I guess. And where was that code? So we already are doing use session toggle start menu. We just need to know, is the start menu visible? So there we go. So if the start menu is visible, that information is now passed into the styled component for us to work with. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to update the background color. Was I even setting it? No, I wasn't even setting it before. So what I'm going to say here is on the start button for the background color, if it's active, then return this color. And the color is the active color, which we're already using somewhere else, I believe. Or did I have to make that? I might have to make that. I don't think so. I think the active is the same one that's used when I pick when the taskbar entry is active. It's not complaining anyway, so that already was an existing color. And same with the background color on hover here. It is going to be different if it's active. So if it's active, all right, so if it's not active and you hover, then the background, wait, what? How does that work? I got person Alex here telling me this is crazy. Thank you. Or my styled components are so bad that it's crazy in that way. But the logic here was was if I hover and it's not active. Why do I need this? Let's comment this out for a second and do these one at a time because I'm confused myself. So the idea here is when the button is active, that the background color should change. So let's see if that part's fixed. So I open here and I hover off. There we go. That part's right. So as you see now it's white when it's active and I unactivate it and it goes away there. So we got that part. Now the part we are missing is, yes, you see here, as I'm hovering, it's messing with the background color to make it the hover color. I want it to be the active color. So that was this logic here. So I'm saying if it's not active and it's hover. So now when I activate it, there we go. Now the background color stays solid because it's in active mode. But if I click here to deactivate it, now it's like a slightly darker color. There we go. So we got that piece. So the next piece was that if I click down, it should be a little darker. So for that, I've added a active piece, which has to go below hover to override whatever other visuals. So this one overrides all of the other visuals. So active is kind of just like when it's the thing that's being clicked in CSS. So when it's active, I've decided to pick these two colors based on my attempt to try to match the way it looked in Windows. Basically the background color, I switch, and these all move to themes eventually. Switch this to 20 and 70 here, and this color was like the highlight color, but a little grayer. Maybe in the future, I might just do like highlight color / darken, or like in SCSS, you can do darken and then theme. I could do this color here, I guess. Something like that in theory I could do. But for now, I've just fine tuned it to this until I decide how to make it fit into the theme. So let's try that. So now, as you see here, I'm hovered over. If I click down, you see it gets more dark, and I let go, it's not. So that it's almost imperceptible if I'm just clicking. You see it like a flash almost. But it's something Windows has, so I'm happy to attempt to emulate it. And we have a little more of the start menu now. So that was basically just visual start button tweaks, I guess I would call that. So let's put that here as tweaks to start button visuals. Start button visuals, and we'll quickly double check that and then just commit it. Yeah, I added the ability to know if it's active, and then I use that for controlling colors. Yes, here. So it's complaining here, expected single space before this bang. Basically, the style lint rules are thinking this is like an important. Basically, it's wrong. It just is not processing styled components correctly in this case. So I'm going to once again disable another rule that it's messed up with. I'm going to go into my style lint, and I'm just going to add this one in here. Declaration bang space before. Don't worry about that. I'll handle importance, and I'll also handle the things that you're falsely saying are wrong. So now that should fix that error. Let me try to open this up again. Yeah, there we go. No more complaining here. Nice, and that one's done. So tweaks to start button visuals. And I think there was one other little fix I had that we can do. I just want to take a look at the code for it and try to understand it. So we just did this. So the only thing left was this fix here, and it's extremely minor, but it actually fixes something legitimate. And I'll show you guys here. In my use window transitions, I think. Windows, use window transition, right. So within Framer Motion, which I'm using for my motions, I have some initial values. And basically, I just didn't have have width and height set to this initial. So what happens is, when you first load, width and height are just like not set. But if you switch to another transition and then back to your initial transition, it was trying to apply, if height was set here, then it would try to set it back to a number. which was causing some wonkiness. And I'll show you what it was causing. So I've commented it out here for a second. And we'll go to the page here. Let's just reset some of my memory here to clear out how things are looking. So we go in here and we open Doom. And you'll see an issue right away. So watch, when I minimize, you see how when I minimized it went over there. It should have been going here. You see how it's going to the left, right? That is because of this initial thing where because the DOS window has auto resize, it starts small on initial load and then resizes down. And I started looking at the elements and I inspected this one here. And I think, is it here? Or here, maybe it's here. Watch, if I minimize, it's this one here. I noticed this was going height 200, width 250. And you see if I hover, you can see it on the top left up there. It was appearing. That is not where that should be. And these heights and widths should be like 0 or initial, and they should be getting inherited from what this is. So that was something I noticed. And the reason I noticed it was that if I close this and then I reopen Doom, now it starts at the right width and height. So now when I do minimize, you see it went to the right spot. And now it's minimizing and maximizing the way I expect. And it's properly hidden within the context that I care about, at least. It still is kind of partially there. If you minimize, you see it's kind of showing that something's there, but it works for my case anyways. So the fix to that, if we clear the data again here, so that we don't have an initial loading state for that. Now we add these pieces back and save that. Now when we go to the browser and we open Doom for the first time, it does the auto resizing, but as you watch, when I minimize, there you go. So it goes to the right place. And you'll see in the elements that it'll be that initial value. Yeah, you see now it's just saying width inherit, height inherit, and now it's getting it from here, which is what it should be doing all the time. But before that didn't matter as much, so now it's something I had to tweak to get it right. But yeah, otherwise that's working okay now, and now the minimize is working and all the other types of animations. So what's that called? Fixed initial minimize on auto resize windows. Fixed bad initial minimize, or let's say incorrect initial minimize on auto resize windows. Yeah, I like that description. So very simple to fix in the end, but it had an impact. And then as far as changes go, I feel like we actually got through them all. I don't know what happened to the pipeline and why the pipeline's been running for so long. Oh, okay, it didn't. I just needed to refresh the page. Cool, so it passed now. So the yarn install obviously worked better than the NPM stuff did. We've done all the changes that I had on my list for today. What are we at? We're not even at 2 hours yet. I like to go 2 hours at least, typically, especially when we got some viewers and people hanging out, like the Alex and Abin that were here. It's nice to see some activity. What were these little notes I had here about this process ID? We could quickly try to do this and just see if this makes any sense to mess with. Maybe not. I mean, I use process ID a million times here. Let's not. I mean, I could say every time here, key of. That gets repetitive. It's already repetitive enough, this file. Let's not even say we're going to do that. Same for the 24 by 24 icons. You know, I know there's certain icons that I'm going to have to mangle a little bit to resize. At this point, I'm happy to just use 48, you know? If it happened to be a 32 by 32, I would do it because I have the source images for all those, but let's not worry about that one. As far as what other stuff to do this next stream, I'm not really sure. Maybe we don't have anything to do. I hesitate to end it after less than 2 hours though, so let's quickly play with it for a little bit and just kind of see where we are with it. So I'm going to leave those desktop. Actually, no, I'm going to bring Doom back to the desktop. I want it in the desktop, I think. I like having it there because I just click. Well, I like having it in the start menu too because it's a reason to go to the start menu. So now we have a reason to go here. Like I said, eventually I'm going to have them move over. But we can just quickly see if things are working okay still. That's working good. I'm thinking in the future what I'll have is if you go into the File Explorer and you pick a folder, let's say, like this folder here, I can right click it. I'm going to have open with and then the submenu, and I'm going to allow you to open with a folder in JS-DOS. So it's going to literally just open directly in JS-DOS. And it's going to be similar to how they are when you open them here. Like if I go to image, where is it here? ROMs. Doom. If I just double click Doom as a zip file, it opens. Oh wait, because this is a JS DOS file, right? If it were a zip file, it would have just extracted and brought me to the console. Like if you are, same as if you quit here, it takes you to the console. This here. So from here, you can actually relaunch Doom if you wanted to. Doom.exe, and you can kind of boot it back up again. So that's something where I might have us be able to launch folders here, and then you could actually go into the folders. So if there's something cool, or if you have an icon viewer in DOS, you could look at them, I guess, or an ISO or JSON or whatever it happens to be. I'll allow you to open any of that stuff in DOS, is my plan at least. Otherwise, this works good. Exit. I can close that. And we got the images here, so you can do like a Calibri or Linux, and oh right. Oh, so these are ISOs, but currently I have it so that if you double click them, they open the actual ISO and let you look inside the ISO. So that's actually looking at the contents of the ISO. Or I can go by the shortcut I've made and actually directly load it in v86. That's another thing I'll have too, is in the ISO, I'll have, if you right click, we'll have open with v86. That'll basically do what this just did here and launch it there. And then yeah, once you're in v86, you can do all sorts of cool stuff too. You're basically in a full Linux distro. So in this case, where I launched the Linux ISO, you can look at the files, and I actually have it mapping to my fake files here. So if you go to the desktop here, we'll see the 3 files in there, and you can look at their content and read them and everything. And you can see what the content of one of these shortcut files looks like, where it explains the icon and stuff. And you can open Winamp here. There's still some stuff to fix on Winamp. I've got it on my board to fix. So next episode, I'm hoping to have a bunch more fixes. But I was a little mentally slow this week, it felt like. I got the vaccine on Sunday, so I don't know if that made me slow or something. But the start of the week, I was just like a zombie for the most part. So I didn't get quite as much done as I was hoping to, unfortunately. But as you can see, it's definitely coming along. You see that's still behind. For Winamp, that's an issue. For the other windows, it doesn't do that. It works properly and stays in front. Yeah, nice. Yeah, the other windows are properly cooperating. So that's what we have right now. Like I said, this will have a column view in the near future, which is probably a nicer view. It's like the details view. Yeah, that's it. I think let's call it a day. I don't want to hover around too much and be confused. So if you liked what I did today, please throw me a like. Subscribe if you want more of it. It's appreciated. I feel very like it's big support. It's big motivator when people subscribe, because it's like I feel like that person's interested in knowing my updates and that kind of stuff for this project, and just in general perhaps. So it's always much appreciated. And comments, questions, any of that stuff, throw them in the chat, throw them in the YouTube comments, and I'll answer them right away. You can also join my Discord server in the comment links if you want to check that out. And if you come and check out this video later, I add timestamps to all my videos, all my streams, so you kind of can jump to different spots and see what's going on. But with that, yeah, I think we'll just end it a little early this week, because we went through a lot of nice little fixes. We got more stuff going in the start menu. Let's end on a high note, you know? Thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks, Alex and Abin for messages, and I'll see you guys next week with more fixes and hopefully more paper from over here moved over there. Hopefully like 8 or 9 this time, I'm thinking. We got about 174 days left, I guess, in this project before we release. So I don't have 174 notes over there. And if I had to point every one of them, I feel like we'll probably have all those done and still have a few months left, hopefully. So we'll see. See you next time. Bye, guys.